Hi guys, welcome to another Sorare video. In today's one, I'm going to show you, go over my limited gallery in-season strategy that I said about in the last couple of videos. But before I do that, I'll just give you the update on arrivals from the previous video of where I entered. What did I enter? Friday night into Saturday morning. Um, as you can see, points are obviously a bit higher this week, but that's because of um, the rep boost game. And if you're not aware, there is a rep boost game for tomorrow, or I say tomorrow, tonight. So again, the AC Milan Liverpool game, in case you haven't seen a rep boost, this one's only a 2x rep, so you'll be winning 6 if you win, but you still only lose 2 if you lose. So if you are interested in doing the Champions League games tonight, I'd say the AC Milan Liverpool game is a bit of a no-brainer. But each to their own. You can pick whether you want it or not. But I say I'll go back to our league. So I am on 26 points, which is, at the moment is, well, it is going to get me promotion because there's one game currently playing, and this guy can't jump over the top of me. So I will be getting promoted with, on I say promoted, I'm already in Div 1. So I'll be getting the premium box, which there we are. There's a payout for the premium box. So most likely I'll be getting tickets, but I'll take essence if I don't get tickets. Tickets wouldn't be horrendous for me. I'm a little short on tickets at the minute, so um, wouldn't be terrible. Um, as for my squad, we are just about getting over the line. Um, we're currently sitting in second, 2 points clear of this team, which is Jack P's team. If you haven't seen him before, he does YouTube videos as well. Go give him a follow. I think it's Jack P So Rare. Um, but yeah, we've got 2 guys left to play. And last time I looked, both of these guys were winning. Yeah, in this crazy 7-3 victory. He's like 130 points clear, and Eglick, yeah, he's like 80 points clear. So we're going to get promoted in that. So from a rival's point of view, I'll be getting the squad box for to come second. Niku's going to jump me, so I'm going to come third, but I'm still getting the same box. So get the standard box. So again, probably tickets, most likely tickets, 60% chance to get some form of tickets. Um, but you never know. I mean, more importantly, it's another promotion up to the next division. Division 7's prices don't drastically change. I think the only changes you get is fourth position goes from a 1-star to a 2-star box. But at the end of the day, keep rocking up the promotions and get up the leagues as quick as you can is the good thing for us. Um, but yeah, so that's my update on rivals. Um, but now I'll take you into my strategy. This is on a Google sheet, so it's going to be a little bit dull, more than likely. Um, but here's the raw numbers essentially of what I've paid. So I'll go through um, the total. So the total currently, uh, tell a lie, this isn't quite updated because I picked up a Haaland this morning that I haven't put on the list. Um, so it's going to be a little bit more. So, but we're looking in the regions of about 4.5k ish, which might seem drastic for limited level, and it probably is. But I've got teams in a lot of divisions, and my idea was I could have gone into rare, um, and been targeting like one competition, and maybe had like 2 teams, or I could go into limited and have 12 teams and have all of the better players, and like I won't win as hard in a single week, but I'll consistently churn out um, like rewards was my logic on it. But essentially, what I've done is I've listed how much I've paid for all of the cards. The value at this is the 12th of September. This was when I first started working on it, so the prices aren't fully up to date. They're 5 days old. And then this is how much I returned in August. I haven't done September's yet because of international duties. Because what I wanted to do was only show in-season results from teams that are primarily uh, the new in-season cards. So like some of my contender lineups, I haven't listed the rewards for them because they're mostly J League and K League players, and I'm like, it doesn't seem fair to list them as the oh I got a reward if not a single one of them is on the purchased player price side of it. Um, and then on the end, I've just got profit, so that is literally what its current value is now plus what yield, and then take that away from the how much I paid. Am I in profit? Am I not in profit? Um, what I've not included on here is like classic cards that I already had because it's kind of difficult to like list what each player is or isn't worth, or because obviously prices I paid for them 18 months ago are not anywhere close to the same prices now. Um, but I kind of figured that yes, it's slightly off on the figures, but it won't be too bad. But we'll go through. So in the Premier League, I've spent like 1,200 so far. And I say this has got a Haaland to go on it, but we've got like a lot of good players. I'll go through and actually show you the gallery rather than just in a spreadsheet. But again, Challenger it's showing us like 2,000 spent in Challenger, but that is because I do have um, a rare um, Club Bruges stack or Bruja stack. So, and I did overpay on those because I bought them during the like the first week promo or whatever it was, where you got essence for opening them. So I definitely overpaid on those. And again in contender, I've not really got too many cards in contender, mainly just a Hamburg stack that I definitely have overpaid on because again I bought those during the early weeks. You'll see like some players like Selke, who's like a backup striker. I paid like £13 to get him in the collection. He's worth like a pound. So there's definitely some that are drastically out. As you can see, I paid 214 and they're now worth like 83. So if I'd have just waited a couple of weeks and then bought them in a couple of weeks' time, I'd be in a much better spot. Um, but they have yielded me about £7 so far. So they're slowly getting there. And this week was a good week for um, Hamburg. Um, but as you'll see in my rewards video that I'll post later on, um, yeah, I somehow in a 5-0 win for Hamburg, I managed to only get one decisive for the striker and miss everything else, which is pretty disappointing because even a slight bit of anything elsewhere would have been a much better reward than I did get. Um, but yeah, so that's basically how I've gone through it. So again, Bundesliga, La Liga, I've got two cards in here that are Tottenham that have transferred into there. Um, and I've got an Oblak that I picked up Oblak for Champions League. So I don't really do La Liga in season. As you'll see from the last video, I won to Stegen in season, and it was a special edition card. But after looking at La Liga again, it's just not a league for me. Like I'd have to invest in getting like having to Stegen made me think, well, Kunde makes the most sense for a defender, but he's like 60 or 70 pound. Then midfield wise, like I have a classic Jude Bellingham and a classic Dani Olmo, but I'm like, okay, so who do I go and get in midfield that's in season? Then I've got to go and get an in season striker. And like the in season strikers didn't stand out. Like Aspas kind of makes the most sense. In that he's the cheap, better player. But again, it just ended up being that I didn't really fancy buying any of the players at the prices they were at. That I was like, I'd be far better off looking to sell the Stegen and putting that money towards um, like the Haaland I bought today, for instance. So I bought the Haaland for I think it was 190. I'll recoup most of that from Ter Stegen, I would imagine. I think Ter Stegen's going for about 130 at the moment, but with it being a special edition card, maybe I can get a little bit more, um, and maybe it pays for majority of the Haaland, maybe it doesn't. But I think Haaland for the next couple of games has a bad set of fixtures, I think, but has a far better set of fixtures like in 4 or 5 games time. Um, yeah, so 190 I picked up the Haaland, and does it show fixtures? It doesn't, does it? But yeah, I'm pretty sure the next couple of games, because they've got what, Inter Milan tonight, um, then Arsenal, then they've got an easier Champions League game, I think. Then it's Newcastle, but then they've got like a run of 5 or 6 games where I looked at it and I thought, wow, Man City could absolutely destroy some teams here. Um, but yeah, so if I go and show you the Premier League in seasons first. Obviously, some of these cards will just be like collection pieces, but I've picked up Haaland and De Bruyne to go along with the Holo Rodri. And mainly, like, I have classic Man City players, but one thing I found is Man City's defence is generally not something I'm interested in stacking. Like, there's some good scorers in there. Like, Gvardiol can score really well, Ruben Diaz can score well, but frankly, Ederson just doesn't score well. Like, when they keep a clean sheet, he scores 65. When he doesn't keep a clean sheet, he scores 35. Like, he gets 4 or 5 points of AA a game and doesn't keep enough clean sheets. So I figured just having the better attacking players is just better. Um, I picked up a Bart Verbruggen because Brighton have some solid fixtures, and he's the type of goalkeeper that, being from a second tier Premier League team, like when they keep a clean sheet, they naturally generate more AA because their teams don't tend to dominate so much. They do actually have to make a few saves. Um, and I like Bart. Obviously, being under 21 or under 23 um, is useful should I decide to go into under 23, but it also keeps his price more relevant long term and more stable. And I think he's going to be a goalkeeper that's in the top divisions for probably most of his career. Um, but yeah, other than that, we've got like my Tottenham collection. Um, that I say I've definitely overpaid on a lot of these. Uh, I've got a Pickford in season. As you'll notice, I've got a lot of Romeros and Sons. Personally, I think Romero is possibly the best scoring defender in the Premier League that isn't named Trent Alexander-Arnold. Um, and coming into this season, I didn't know what Arne Slot was going to do with Trent. In that, if I knew Trent was going to play right back every week, Trent becomes the best right back or becomes the best defender in the Premier League scoring wise. If Trent's going to go and play in midfield, he's just bang average and overpriced. Like Trent, from a Sorare perspective, in central midfield just doesn't perform as well. Like in the right back slot, he does perform a lot better. Now, I'm not saying that it means he's bad in midfield because I think that even from the right back slot, he tends to, like Tottenham with the inverted fullbacks, he comes into midfield and plays from midfield anyway. So it's strange that he can't do it from midfield in general, but I think that that's because when you're the defender that's coming into midfield and overloading the midfield, you tend not to get picked up and pressed as hard from your opposite number. Whereas if you're in central midfield, like you have a midfielder opposite you that's going to naturally come in, and I just think it works better and he scores better not being the central midfielder and he can come into the space. Um, but yeah, so that's why I like Christian Romero in that. Um, even though that's talking about Trent, but Christian Romero I think is the best defender point scoring wise. Um, he gets a lot of tackles, um, wins a lot of duels in that he's an aggressive defender, likes to get in front and win the tackles. naturally with Tottenham's defence the way it is with the insanely high line and inverted fullbacks, Romero and Van der Ven will pick up a reasonable amount of last man tackles and things like that because they have to make recovery tackles because their team's out of position. Um, he's also insanely good from set pieces at scoring goals. He's one of the better scoring defenders. Like I imagine Brighton defenders in like Lewis Dunk would outscore him in actual goals wise, but Christian Romero always seems to do well at corners. Um, so again, it's handy to have that. And then as for Son, it's Son. Like wide forwards will always do well AA wise. And if you've got a forward who can pick up a decisive, which Son is one of those that picks up a lot of decisives as well as score good AA, he's one of the better forwards, like one of the better forwards in the Premier League for sure. Quite where he fits in like champion, I would say he's probably got a tougher league than some of the others that would outscore him. But from a purely Premier League perspective, which is obviously what I was targeting with the competition, I think the key players for me were Son and Romero, um, and they feature in majority of my lineups. Having picked up the Haaland means I don't have to use Son in all of my Premier League lineups. I can then move him into others, so that's kind of handy. Um, but yeah, that's kind of a look at the Premier League. It's essentially just Tottenham with some big key players. But if we go to Bundesliga, this was what I built after winning some rewards, so I kind of could pick what I wanted. So essentially, my logic was I want 2 to 3 goalkeepers. Looking at the goalkeepers, because I had classic Shradetsky and Neuer, I looked through them and Kobel was the best option for, and I've picked up 2 Kobels. At the price range, I felt Kobel was a pretty good goalkeeper to get. Like I think Neuer is overpriced and overrated. He doesn't get lots of clean sheets. Now that might change under company, but in general, Bayern Munich aren't very good defenders because they play so far forward and so attacking that against like bad teams they tend to just concede a goal. Like at the weekend with the 6-1, like they were dominating the game against Holston, and then they conceded a silly goal that seems to be like a Bayern Munich trait that they love to lose clean sheets. Defense wise, so if I do it by position, this might make it easier for me as well. So defense wise, again, I wanted some key defenders. Grimaldo and Schlotterbeck were my main two, and then I needed like 1 or 2 extra defenders to kind of fill out the teams. Having Kobel, I decided to go with Anton for the defensive stack in what's likely to just be the third team for me in Bundesliga. I picked up Kim Min Jae specifically for the Champions League games, for the Champions League competitions, and then it turns out that I picked him up for this week because they're playing Dinamo Zagreb, um, and I've decided not to play him in a Champions League lineup. So that shows how good my logic was on that one. Um, in midfield, we've got Musiala, Elise, Granit Xhaka were kind of like my 3 main wants. Um, Grealish and Stack, I think, like Stack scores well in that he's a midfielder card that plays centre back. Um, so he naturally just picks up your AA. Like, yes, he'll struggle against the better teams, but against the good matchups, he will score reasonably well. As you can see from his scoring, like he's going to get you that 60, 70 point mark, which I struggled for like finding midfielders that would get me in that range that weren't high price because obviously it was limited of how much more I could get. And then Grealish kind of fell into that same category again um, for me again in that 60, 70 point range. And then if you look at the forwards, it kind of makes sense because I've got Kramaric, so I wanted something to match up there. Um, so forwards wise, I've got Harry Kane that I picked up for the Champions League game. I've got a classic Harry Kane, so I wasn't using Harry Kane. I was using classic Harry Kane for the Bundesliga lineup, so I then didn't actually need the Harry Kane. But with the Champions League, and as soon as I see the prize pools for the Champions League, I wanted the Harry Kane. And as it was, I got a special edition one, which is also nice. I picked up Serge Gnabry that I thought for his price range, currently he's not too bad. I think Leroy Sané would take some of his game time away, even though I don't think they'll play on the same side. I think the Bayern Munich team will rotate around a little bit in order to fit Sané in at times. But I felt for a striker option for again like a third team, like I think Gnabry will be around in the right kind of places and picking up decisives. I got Garassi. Obviously had the amazing season last season. Now he's gone to Dortmund. Hopefully it converts this year. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. But again, I picked him up for 33. Now I know he's going for a lot more than that now. I think he's going for, I want to say it was like 50s and 60s. Yeah, 57 on a public offer, 58. So it's about 60 to 65. Um, that obviously at the price of 33, amazing. But I think it's kind of one of those that I was willing to take a punt on it. In that I think he could score really well, and if he does score really well, then off to the moon we go. Um, Kramaric, I personally think is probably the best forward in the league, um, unless he faces a Dortmund or Bayern, Leverkusen. Um, Obviously, he scored like 67 this week against Leverkusen because he picked up his goal, but he's like a very good. I mean, he was amazing towards the end of the season, but he's a very good like scorer for me. And again, at 40, I don't understand if he's is he still this price? He still is this price. I personally, I don't understand how he stays that low. Other than I guess he's got no like midweek utility. But I think from a Bundesliga point of view, I think he's a very very good forward. Um, and then the other couple of forwards I picked up was Undav and Duksha. That again, my logic on those were I needed a couple of forwards to be able to fill out lineups for rotations to play matchups and things. Undav's a solid player. Duksha again, he's pretty much only going to get you decisives, but in the right matchups, he's not bad. Was my logic on those of like they're not likely to play most weeks, but they can mix in lineups. And what's left can be kind of thrown into the secondary, tertiary lineups in like champion and stuff like that. So that is the Bundesliga. Um, I say for La Liga, we went over those. For I put down the French Premier League or Ligue 1 as champion. Basically, I just picked up a Rem defensive stack of Diouf, Agbadou, and Akumu. Paired it up with Max Kakare because I think Max Kakare is a solid midfielder that scores pretty well for his price range. Again, the same thing with the Rem defenders of they tend to rack up solid scoring performances, if nothing amazing. If they can keep clean sheets, then brilliant. And then I then play classic forwards in that, and I can't remember who I played this week, but that's pretty much it from like a champion side of things. Who did we have in? I might as well go to Julepa because essentially Belgium is the only other division that I've mainly bought cards. I can't think of anyone else I've bought cards that isn't from Belgium. So again, it's a Bruce stack. Um, I'm pretty unlucky this weekend, which I'll show you in the rewards video later. And I'm cursing myself, but I'll explain that later. But yeah, essentially, Mignolet, De Kuyper, Mechelen, Vanaken, and I went Tizolis as a striker for rare. Um, Kind of regretting it because I don't think he's done as well since he's gone to Bruges, but maybe he will do better towards the end of the year. And then obviously in limited again we've got Mignolet, De Kuyper, Vanaken, Mechelen, and then I've got a few more options in forwards. And I've got Tizolis, I've got Gustav Nilsson. Classic wise, I've also got Skov Olsen. And again, I've picked up a couple of these others for collection points more than anything. So trying to, and again, I've got Jackers for the backup to Minile. Um, I've got Seni Lamans for when the Jupiler League competition was open. That I needed an extra goalkeeper, and I thought he's a solid goalkeeper. He's under 23, can't really go wrong with that. And I believe he was actually in the lineup that got me one of the best results I've had. I'm pretty sure he was. Let me see if I can see that from. It was only a couple of weeks ago. Yes, he was in the lineup that got me second for 1200 with his penalty save um, with the Bruges boys. So yeah, so that was definitely a good purchase. Talking results orientated there, but essentially, yeah, that's the logic on that. Of I think in Challenger, yes, there's the talks of PSV stacks this, PSV stacks that, but Bruges are pretty good as well. They kind of do that like where they score high. Like De Kuiper scores very well. Vanaken historically has scored well. Defensively, they are suspect. The more I watch them, the more I'm like, wow, these are suspect in defence. Um, but Mekela picks up a lot of points just from like he's an AA machine. Um, they're not great striking or forwards wise, so I think that's when you can mix others in. But obviously, at the moment with MLS being there, like I have a good MLS in season gallery, so like I don't have to play just a Bruges team. I can just play like a Bruges defensive stack plus the good midfield. Like I'm pretty sure this week in season, I might not have even played Vanaken in an in season lineup. Pretty sure I played him in Classic, and obviously he scored 100 this week. So well done me on picking the incorrect teams as usual. But yeah, that's my logic on this season. Of I think in season there's a lot better opportunity um, to win rewards than in Classic. Classic isn't easy, um, but I think in season is it's not hard to kind of churn over the small prizes. That then eventually, when you do win a big prize, the small ones will have mounted up. Um, I suppose what I haven't actually mentioned is what my plan is at the end of the season. So my plan was at the end of the season. This actually would explain more as well, I suppose, with a Google sheet. So I suspect that the card value of what I've paid for the in seasons um, come the end of the season will probably be something in the regions of about 30% of the value. So I'd imagine that if I sold these cards at the end of the season, I could get about 1,500, maybe a little bit less, maybe like 1,300. And that's my intention, is more than likely to sell all of the cards at the end of the season to fund next season's in season. Um, so the plan is to get around something in the regions of about 3,500 in returns throughout the year. Now, obviously, August was an amazing one, but majority of that was obviously because of the Challenger performance. But I've had some solid Premier League performances so far, and again, that's why I wanted to separate it up into leagues so I can see, okay, was there an outlier that makes it look better than it actually was? Whereas I think the Premier League will be a far better one to judge because there isn't any specials and I don't imagine there'll be any specials for the Premier League teams throughout the season. So I should hopefully be able to see how I do well from the Premier League point of view. But I think already the fact I'm at 300 from just August, um, I imagine we've got what 6, 7 months maybe of potential for rewards. I think I'd be surprised if I didn't get this close to. I would imagine I would probably get at least 1,000 in rewards, um, and the cards I've got should hold really well value wise um, at classic level, but we'll wait and see. But yeah, so my idea was I'll try and do an update on how this kind of spreadsheet and doing value is doing once a month, um, and just kind of talk through the progress and do we think it's the plan is going to work? Do we not think it's going to work? Um, and what we're learning as we're going along. So that I know that it seems strange to say we're talking that I can talk about a plan for next season when we're 4 games into a Premier League season. Um, but I think understanding how this season has worked will help you better for next season. Um, so that's kind of why I wanted to keep track of it and keep like video evidence to kind of go back and go, oh, okay, this is what actually happened at this time, rather than um, I tend to find when you think back on things, you go, oh yeah, like this definitely was, yeah, the price has definitely done this at this time, and where actually you tend to have just kind of remembered what you wanted to remember and you've forgotten the nitty gritty details. So yeah, that's my logic on why I want to do this. But I'm gonna try and wrap up the video now because this has been a really long video already. Um, as for the next video, I'll do a rewards video. That will probably be out again tonight, if not, it'll be tomorrow morning. Rewards wise this week, I'll go through on a rewards video. I've got a lot of boxes, as you'll see, and a lot of near misses for good rewards. But we'll go through that on the opening. But yeah, I think so. That's going to wrap it up for this one. So if you have liked or enjoy any of it, hit the video, like the video, subscribe, comment for me, and just kind of what you would like to see done, what you wouldn't like to see done, um, or what your strategy is for this season and in season, what your thoughts on in season are. Because it's good to kind of gauge other people's opinions, so you're not in like a fishbowl, um, and only kind of seeing your own point of view. So that'd be good if you could do that for me. If not, I will catch you on the next one. Thanks very much.